Chapter 1 System Announcement at the Worst Possible Time. If anyone ever writes a history book about great political turning points, I would like to formally request that they leave my name out of it. I was not trying to start peace. I was not trying to start war. I was definitely not trying to start a pregnancy. I was trying to deliver paperwork. That's it. Papers. Stamped. Boring. Non-fateful. The kind of task given to an Omega who ranks somewhere between background villager and emotionally supportive shrub. Unfortunately, fate has poor eyesight. The North Pack and the South Pack had chosen the absolute worst possible place for a territorial standoff, the narrow border bridge, which, incidentally, was also the only route back to my apartment. On one side stood Jake, leader of the North Pack. Tall, golden, radiating heroic pheromones and moral superiority. His patrol flanked him in crisp formation. On the other side stood Ethan, leader of the South Pack. Tall, dark, radiating villainous pheromones and expensive cologne. His envoys stood like decorative threats. And in the exact middle, me, holding paperwork. "Move aside," Jake said, voice firm but not unkind. "Stay exactly where you are," Ethan said smoothly, eyes narrowing. I looked left. I looked right. "Just so we're clear, I am not emotionally equipped for whatever this is," I said, raising my folder slightly. Neither alpha was listening. They were staring at each other the way rival gods probably stare before smiting something. Jake's jaw tightened. "Your pack crossed the northern markers." Ethan smiled like a man who charges interest on breathing. "We walked. The ground did not object. You're provoking conflict. You're fragile." I raised my hand. "Hello." Soft civilian present. Extremely squishable. No response. Their pheromones started clashing in the air. It felt like standing between two competitive thunderstorms. And that's when the sky broke. Everything froze. Wind stopped mid-gust. Leaves hung suspended. One of Jake's soldiers remained permanently mid-blink. Even my hair stopped moving, which frankly felt illegal. A bright window popped into the air above us. Gold font. Sparkles. Offensive cheerfulness. System notice. Secret event triggered. Drunken fate night. Compatible alpha leaders detected. I blinked. Then I blinked again. "I'm sorry, what?" I asked. Jake looked up, sword halfway drawn. "What is that?" Ethan's expression shifted from smug to calculating. "This aura. It's not magic." The window expanded. Compatibility analysis complete. Omega candidate. Allen. Alpha leaders. Jake, north. Ethan, south. Pack probability. 99.98%. Initiating narrative acceleration. I dropped my paperwork. "No, absolutely not. That's incorrect. I would like to unsubscribe." Jake turned toward me at the same time Ethan did. Both of them spoke at once. "What does that mean?" "Jake, why is your name glowing?" "Ethan, I don't know. I didn't install anything." Another notification chimed. "Congratulations. Secret event. Drunken fate night. Location. Neutral celebration instance. Attendance. Mandatory." Jake scowled. "I don't answer to floating decorations." Ethan folded his arms. "If this is some northern trick, why would I design something this pink?" Jake snapped. The air shimmered. The ground disappeared. And just like that, the border bridge, the soldiers, the tension, gone. We landed in the middle of what looked like a festival. Lanterns. Music. Long tables covered in food. Barrels of alcohol. A banner overhead read, "Peace through passion." Covered my face. "No, no, no, no," I whispered. Jake straightened instantly, scanning the area. "Where are we?" Ethan picked up a goblet from a passing tray that hadn't been there a second ago. Some kind of pocket dimension. A waiter appeared beside me out of thin air and handed me a drink. "I don't drink," I said weakly. The glass sparkled. Inhibitions lowered for narrative efficiency. "Oh, absolutely not." Jake grabbed my wrist. "Stay close." Ethan stepped closer on my other side. Closer than that. I looked up at the sky, which was now suspiciously romantic. I would like to file a complaint with fate, I announced. Music swelled dramatically. More text appeared. Objective: increase emotional synergy. Conflict level high. Alcohol boost activated. Jake's grip tightened. You will not be used as leverage. Ethan's fingers brushed my shoulder possessively. Nor as a pawn. I stared at both of them. I was a background character this morning. They finally looked at each other again. The air between them crackled. Release him, Jake said. You release him, Ethan replied smoothly. I was holding him first. I outrank you socially. You trespass professionally. They leaned closer. And because fate hates me personally, they both leaned so close that I was physically trapped between two alpha leaders in the most public, lantern-lit romantic festival in existence. I cannot stress this enough. I do not consent to being symbolism, I said. Squished between them, the system chimed happily overhead. Emotional proximity. Excellent. Drunken fate night officially commencing. A group of dancers twirled around us. A server refilled our glasses without asking. Jake looked furious. Ethan looked intrigued. I looked at the sky and screamed. Nothing unfroze. Nothing stopped. And somewhere deep in my Omega instincts, something shifted uneasily. Not desire, not yet. Just the terrifying awareness that the story had decided I was important. Which is the worst thing that can happen to a peaceful person. Jake exhaled sharply. Whatever this is, we endure it. Ethan smirked faintly. Try not to embarrass yourself, hero. They were too close. Way too close. The music grew louder. Lanterns brightened. And above us, sparkling obnoxiously, Drunken Fate Night, Phase 1. I knew, with absolute certainty, that my life had just ended. Not violently, not tragically, but narratively. And narrative deaths are worse. I should have gone home. I should have taken a different bridge. I should have called in sick from destiny. Chapter 2. The Festival Where No One Consented. I would like to begin by clarifying that I did not consent to any of this. Not the festival. Not the glowing drinks. Not the suspiciously romantic lantern lighting. And certainly not the part where both rival alpha leaders are now seated on either side of me like I'm the world's most politically sensitive sandwich filling. If this is symbolism, I hate it. The festival music swelled again, unnecessarily dramatic, as if we were about to confess eternal love instead of diplomatic hostility. Jake stood first. We leave, he said firmly. He took one step toward the edge of the plaza. He walked directly into an invisible wall. There was a soft bonk sound. I tried not to laugh. I failed. Ethan examined the air where Jake had collided and pressed his palm against it. A containment barrier. Jake narrowed his eyes. Break it. Ethan summoned dark energy around his hand. The barrier glowed pink. A cheerful notification appeared. Violence disabled during peace instance. Please try again after emotional growth. Jake stared at the sky. I will destroy whoever designed this. Hostility reduces success rate. Ethan exhaled slowly, then turned to me. You triggered this. I tripped over paperwork, I corrected. Another tray of drinks floated toward us. None of us touched it. The tray hovered stubbornly. Alcohol consumption required to advance plot. Jake folded his arms. I do not drink while on duty. The tray sparkled brighter. Ethan picked up a glass, examining the liquid. If this is poison, it's theatrically presented. I raised my hand. Before either of you do something heroic and regrettable, I would like to say that I metabolize alcohol like a confused squirrel. Neither of them listened. Jake took a drink out of pure defiance. Ethan followed because Jake did. I took one because the tray would not stop hovering directly in front of my face. The wine was sweet. Too sweet. Tasted like bad decisions and narrative inevitability. A warm flush spread through me immediately. Oh no, I whispered. Suppressants temporarily disabled. Lowered inhibitions improve narrative success rates. I froze. You disabled what? I asked the sky. Jake stiffened beside me. Ethan went very still on my other side. We all understood the implication at the exact same time. This is unacceptable, Jake said through clenched teeth. Ethan's gaze darkened. Manipulating biological responses is beneath even divine interference. I clutched my cup. I was having a stable week. The music shifted to something slower. Couples were suddenly dancing around us. I hadn't seen them arrive. They just existed now, perfectly synchronized, smiling like they had stable character arcs. Jake cleared his throat. We remain focused. On what? The free alcohol or the forced proximity? I asked. Ethan sat down heavily on the bench behind us. If we cannot leave, we'll play this game. Jake sat on the opposite side of me. I would like to point out that there were other benches. Several. Many, in fact. Yet somehow I was once again in the center. I feel symbolically trapped, I informed them. Neither Alpha moved away. Another notification appeared. Emotional distance. Suboptimal. Adjusting seating arrangement. The bench narrowed. Physically. And suddenly our thighs were touching. I swallowed. This furniture is hostile. Jake's shoulder brushed mine. His body was warm. Very warm. Ethan leaned back, but there was nowhere to lean. His arm slid behind me along the back of the bench. I felt surrounded, which, biologically speaking, is a complicated experience for an omega whose suppressants have just been disabled by an overenthusiastic cosmic algorithm. Jake cleared his throat again. Control yourself. I am controlling myself, I said indignantly. I was not speaking to you. Ethan smirked faintly. That makes two of us. Jake shot him a glare. You're enjoying this. I enjoy your discomfort. And I enjoy your arrogance. Careful, you're reacting. Ethan murmured, leaning slightly forward. Their pheromones flared. The air thickened. I fanned myself with my folder, which was now useless but emotionally supportive. Gentlemen, if you could both not be chemically competitive in my immediate vicinity, that would be ideal. I said weakly. They both looked at me, at the same time, which did not help. The system chimed again. Rising tension detected. Bonus affinity multiplier activated. I do not want a multiplier, I muttered. Jake stood abruptly. We require clarity. Ethan stood as well. Agreed. They both turned to face each other. I remained seated because I value survival. You will not exploit this, Jake said sharply. Ethan tilted his head. You assume I need exploitation to win. This isn't a game. The system sparkled aggressively overhead. It is absolutely a game. I pressed my fingers to my temples. I'm going to develop narrative-induced hypertension. Another tray arrived. Jake grabbed a glass. Ethan grabbed one too. They maintained eye contact while drinking. This is not a normal social behavior. I took another sip because my judgment was dissolving at an alarming rate. Warmth bloomed in my chest. My thoughts felt slightly softer around the edges. The lanterns seemed brighter. Jake's features looked sharper somehow. His usually stern expression had relaxed just slightly. Ethan's posture had loosened. His usual calculated stillness replaced with something almost amused. Stop looking at each other like that, I said. Like what? Jake asked. Like you're about to duel romantically. Silence. Ethan coughed lightly. That is not a thing. It feels like a thing. The music shifted again. A group of dancers spun past, bumping lightly into us. Jake instinctively reached for my waist to steady me. Ethan caught my hand at the same time. We froze. Jake's hand on my waist. Ethan's fingers intertwined with mine. My brain short-circuited. The system sparkled violently. Physical contact achieved. Synergy increasing. No, I breathed. Jake slowly released me. Ethan did not release my hand immediately. He looked at it, then at me. Then let go. The air felt charged. Jake sat down again. Ethan followed. We were closer than before. I could feel the heat of them on either side. And slowly, without anyone acknowledging it, the arguing softened. Their shoulders brushed. They didn't move away. They were still glaring, but less intensely. Jake took another drink. Ethan matched him. I finished mine and immediately regretted it. My cheeks were warm. My thoughts were fuzzy. This is sabotage, I informed the universe. Drunken fate night, phase 2 initiated. Jake exhaled. If this night cannot be avoided, we endure it strategically. Ethan nodded slightly. Temporary alignment. They both looked at me, simultaneously. Why are you both looking at me like I'm the alignment? I demanded. Neither answered. Instead, Jake leaned slightly closer. Ethan did the same. And I realized something horrifying. They weren't just arguing anymore. They were reacting. To each other. To me. To whatever invisible thread the system was tightening around us. And despite my best efforts to remain narratively irrelevant, I could feel it too, which is deeply inconvenient. I pointed weakly at the sky. I would like to formally state that if anything ridiculous happens tonight, I am blaming all of you. The system shimmered in delight. Jake muttered, "This will not control us." Ethan smirked faintly. "Speak for yourself." They clinked their glasses together without breaking eye contact. I watched in horror. They didn't notice how close they were sitting anymore. And neither did I. Chapter 3, The Night the System Won. I would like the record to show that I attempted responsibility. I did. At approximately what I believe was my 4th glass of suspiciously enchanted wine, I stood up, pointed at both rival alpha leaders, and declared, "We are adults. We are politically significant adults. We will not be manipulated by glitter." The glitter intensified. Jake was standing too straight for someone who had just consumed an alarming amount of plot-enhancing alcohol. Ethan was reclining too elegantly for someone whose rivalry should have required at least one dramatic cape movement by now. The system chimed. Emotional filters disabled. Rivalry status. Converting. New status. Passionate tension. I squinted at the sky. That sounds fake. Jake exhaled slowly. It is attempting to provoke a reaction. Ethan rolled his shoulders once, loosening his collar. It appears to be succeeding. The air felt warmer. Too warm. Not just physically. Socially. Jake stepped closer to Ethan. Not aggressively. Just closer. Ethan didn't step back. Instead, he tilted his head slightly. "Still think this is a northern trick?" Jake's mouth twitched. "If it were, I would design something with better lighting." The lanterns dimmed and turned gold. I looked up. "I was joking," Jake snapped. Romantic lighting adjustment confirmed. I pressed my hands to my face. Somewhere between drink number 5 and my final shred of dignity, the music slowed to something criminally intimate. I would like to emphasize that no one asked for this. Jake held out a hand to me. It was probably meant to be strategic, possibly protective, almost certainly ill-advised. Ethan extended his hand at the exact same time. I stared at both hands. "You can't both." The system sparkled. Cooperative action encouraged. Jake grabbed my right hand. Ethan took my left. And just like that, I was being pulled into the most diplomatically inappropriate slow dance in modern pack history. "This is illegal," I informed them. Jake's hand settled at my waist. Ethan's hand did the same. There are not enough laws for this. We moved awkwardly at first, then less awkwardly, then dangerously not awkwardly. Jake's expression softened, just slightly. "You're warm." "That's because my suppressants are disabled," I replied. Ethan's thumb brushed faintly against my side. "You're trembling." "That's because this is a political nightmare." They both laughed. At the same time, and then they looked at each other. Not like enemies, like something else, something charged. Something the system absolutely should not be allowed to categorize. The notification chimed again. Emotional synchronization, 63%. Continue for optimal outcome. Jake leaned in closer, voice lower. "You feel it too." Ethan's gaze flickered, not away, but sharper. "I dislike that you're correct. I'm correct often. Insufferably so." I cleared my throat loudly. "Hello. Still here. Still structurally between you." Neither moved away. If anything, they moved closer. And I, a grown omega with rational thought capacity, did not step back. "That's on me." The music swelled. The air thickened. Ethan's forehead nearly brushed Jake's. Jake's breath hitched very slightly. The rivalry didn't disappear. It warped, sharpened, intensified into something that looked suspiciously like attraction with a competitive streak. I pointed weakly upward. This is emotional hacking. Drunken fate night, final phase initiated. Oh no, the world shimmered. The festival blurred at the edges. Lantern light melted into something softer. Private. We were no longer in the plaza. We were in a room. Large bed. Single. I laughed. It sounded unstable. Jake turned slowly. This is coercion. Ethan removed his gloves carefully. It's strategy. Strategy for what? I demanded. Intimacy environment activated. Emotional barriers reduced. I should have run. I did not run. Jake stepped closer. Ethan mirrored him. And in that suspended, hazy moment where wine, pheromones, rivalry, and algorithmic interference tangled together, we stopped thinking like leaders, or enemies, or even sensible adults. Jake brushed my hair back from my forehead. Ethan's hand found mine. They looked at each other again, and something passed between them. Not hatred, not peace, recognition, like two halves of the same storm realizing they were weather. I remember warmth, hands, soft laughter that didn't feel like mine. Jake's voice low near my ear, Ethan's breath against my skin, and the system purring in satisfaction. Then darkness. Morning came with regret, and sunlight, and the worst headache of my entire life. I opened one eye, ceiling unfamiliar, sheets disheveled, body sore in a way that suggested narrative consequences. I froze. There was weight on my left, and on my right. Slowly, very slowly, I turned my head. Jake, sleeping, hair messy, expression unguarded. On my other side, Ethan, also sleeping, one arm draped across the bed. We were all under the same blanket. And most importantly, we were naked. What the hell? I blinked, then blinked again. Nope, still there. Shared bed, shared headache, shared catastrophic life decision. I inhaled sharply. Big mistake. Both alphas stirred at the same time. Jake opened his eyes first. Confusion. Then realization. Then fury. Ethan blinked awake next. He assessed the situation. And instead of panicking, he smirked. That's when the system chimed. Bright, cheerful, unforgivable. Congratulations. Pack pregnancy successfully initialized. I screamed. Jake sat upright instantly. What? Ethan stared at the message. Silence. Then, explain. Jake growled at the ceiling. Conception probability. Confirmed. Pack bond established. Thank you for participating. I did not participate, I shouted. Ethan raised a brow. You were enthusiastic. I threw a pillow at him. Jake stood, pacing furiously. This was manipulation. We were impaired. Lowered inhibitions improve authentic outcomes. That's not how consent works, I yelled. The system flickered slightly. Player choice recorded. Jake looked murderous. Ethan folded his arms, expression calculating. You interfered. Narrative optimization successful. I clutched the blanket to my chest. I was fine yesterday. Jake ran a hand through his hair. This changes everything. Ethan looked at me, then at Jake, then back at me. Well, this will be inconvenient, he said calmly. Inconvenient? You are leaders of rival packs. I shrieked. Jake stopped pacing. His gaze shifted to Ethan. Not hostile. Not fully. Complicated. This binds us. Ethan's eyes sharpened. It does. The room felt quieter. Heavier. The system sparkled proudly overhead. Pack route locked in. Chapter 4, Leaders of Rival Packs now linked for life. There are many ways to wake up after a catastrophic system-orchestrated life event. Peacefully reflecting on your growth is not one of them. I woke up on day 2 of narrative ruin with 3 things. A mild headache. 2 rival alpha leaders arguing in the hallway. A glowing notification that refused to go away. Pregnancy status. Stable. Pack bond, active. Shared custody mode. Pending? I stared at the ceiling. Pending what? I whispered. The argument outside escalated. He stays with the North Pack. It's safer. Jake snapped. Safer? Your territory borders 3 hostile factions. Ethan replied coolly. And yours borders me. That's because you keep walking into it. I rolled out of bed and opened the door. Both of them turned immediately, simultaneously, which I am beginning to suspect is a problem. Jake's expression softened instantly. You should be resting. Ethan stepped closer at the same time. You shouldn't be standing alone. I looked from one to the other. Good morning to you too. Has the war started yet, or are we waiting until after breakfast? I asked. Neither laughed. This was concerning. Jake crossed his arms. The news has spread. How? I asked faintly. Ethan lifted his chin toward the floating screen hovering behind me. It now displayed a headline. Breaking news. Rival pack leaders enter unprecedented Omega bond. There was a sketch of us holding hands. Why were we holding hands in the sketch? I was unconscious, I said weakly. Jake's jaw tightened. North Pack elders are demanding immediate relocation. They want you within protected territory. Ethan's eyes narrowed. South Pack Council insists he be moved to the southern capital. They cite stability. I blinked. Stability? Do either of your councils know me personally? I asked. Silence. That's what I thought. Jake stepped closer. This is political now. It was political when you two were glaring at each other on a bridge, I reminded him. Ethan folded his hands behind his back. You are carrying an air connected to both packs. I raised my voice. I am carrying a headache. Neither corrected me. That felt ominous. We stepped outside the inn. Big mistake. 2 separate entourages were waiting. North Pack soldiers lined the left side of the street. South Pack envoys stood to the right. They were glaring at each other. And at me. I waved weakly. No one waved back. A North Pack elder stepped forward. Alpha Jake. This Omega must be secured. Secured. Like a suspicious package. A South Pack advisor countered immediately. He should be relocated south where our medical facilities are superior. I looked at Jake and then Ethan. Are they talking about me like I'm a seasonal crop? Jake moved slightly in front of me protectively. Ethan moved slightly closer on my other side. I was once again physically centered between rival alpha leaders. I would like spatial independence. He remains under my protection, Jake said firmly. Ethan's tone sharpened. Our protection. Jake's eyes flashed. Do not twist this. I'm clarifying it. Their pheromones flared. The soldiers stiffened. The envoys bristled. The tension climbed so fast I could practically see a progress bar. And that's when I snapped. Stop! It echoed. Everyone stared at me. I pointed at both of them. I am a person, not a peace treaty. Dead silence. A pigeon landed somewhere in the distance. Jake blinked. Ethan tilted his head. I continued because I was on a roll. You don't get to move me like furniture. You don't get to secure me like an investment. I have legs, pinions, mild but valid autonomy. The North Pack elder looked scandalized. The South Pack advisor looked calculating. Jake looked conflicted. Ethan looked impressed. The system chimed brightly overhead. Assertive Omega response detected. Updating custody protocol. Oh no! I whispered. The air shimmered. A massive glowing document appeared in the sky. Shared custody mode activated. Alternate territory residency required. Equal time allocation. Joint decision-making mandatory. Jake read it first. His jaw tightened. Ethan read it second. His expression went unreadable. I read it last. I hate this software. A North Pack soldier raised a hand cautiously. Does this mean visitation schedules? The South Pack advisor muttered. This is absurd. Jake stepped closer to Ethan. You will not control his movements. Ethan leaned in slightly. Neither will you. Their shoulders almost touched. They didn't notice. I noticed. The system sparkled. Cooperative leadership encouraged. Jake exhaled slowly. We rotate. Ethan nodded once. 1 week north. 1 week south. The packs murmured in outrage. I stared at them both. You're negotiating me. Jake looked down at me immediately. We're protecting you. Ethan added quietly. And the child. There was something different in his tone. Not strategic. Not smug. Real. It threw me off balance. Jake glanced at Ethan briefly. Not hostile. Not entirely. Complicated. Which, unfortunately, is becoming a theme. The system chimed again. Pack stability 28%. Warning. Rival hostility reduces pregnancy buffs. I do not want buffs, I muttered. Jake rubbed his temples. This is spiraling. Ethan's gaze flickered to me. You will not be isolated. Jake shot him a look. Nor exploited. Agreed. They both paused. Agreement. Voluntary. Without system glitter. I blinked at them. Did you just agree? Jake frowned slightly. Ethan's lips curved faintly. Temporary alignment. The packs continued arguing behind them. But the two alpha leaders were standing closer than before. Not touching, but close. Like magnets pretending not to be. The system hummed in satisfaction. Pack route locked. External conflict increased for drama. I didn't ask for drama, I said tiredly. Jake glanced down at me. We will manage this. Ethan added softly. Together. The word lingered. Together. They looked at each other again. This time less like enemies. More like co-conspirators against a mutual cosmic annoyance. Which, unfortunately, is me. I sighed. So when do I start packing? Jake and Ethan both answered at once. Now. Covered my face. Shared custody mode. Alternating territories. 2 rival alpha leaders. 1 omega with a rapidly escalating narrative. If anyone needs me, I'll be updating my resume. Under skills, I'll add politically inconvenient, emotionally surrounded, a mildly pregnant. The system sparkled approvingly. I did not. Chapter 5. Forced negotiations, accidental kissing. If you want true humiliation, try being a diplomatic prop while mildly pregnant and emotionally exhausted. The peace summit was in a grand neutral hall on the border. Marble floors. Long table. Flags from both packs. I was seated in the exact center. Of course. Jake sat to my right in full North Pack regalia. Ethan to my left in tailored robes probably worth more than my apartment. Across from us, elders, advisors, military captains, and at least 3 people clearly judging everything. I leaned toward Jake. Why am I here again? Symbol of cooperation, he said. I looked at Ethan. Translation. Visual deterrent against violence, he replied. Ah, human ceasefire tape, I muttered. Negotiations began politely, which in pack politics means everyone insulted each other with advanced vocabulary. North Pack expansion has been aggressive, a Southern elder said. Defensive restructuring, Jake countered. Ethan smiled faintly. Reframing invasion as landscaping is bold. Reframing trespassing as cultural exchange is bolder, Jake said. I raised a hand. Can we acknowledge I'm between 2 men who could legally command armies? No one responded. Tension thickened. Pheromones like invisible fog. My instincts twitched unpleasantly. Then a northern captain slammed a document down. Voices rose. Chairs scraped. I shrank slightly. Jake's hand closed around mine under the table. Firm. Grounding. Instinctive. I froze. Ethan noticed immediately, of course. The Southern envoy stood. Ethan slid me subtly closer to him. Not aggressively. Protectively. My brain stopped functioning. I was physically anchored between 2 rival alphas in front of the entire assembly. This is not co-parenting. This is hostage adjacent, I said. Jake finally spoke. Sit down. The Southern envoy sat. Ethan's hand remained at my back. Jake's hand remained around mine. Neither acknowledged the other. I, however, was hyper-aware. A northern elder suggested moving me north permanently. Jake's fingers tightened. A southern captain implied proper supervision. Ethan's arm tensed. And then, Jake leaned slightly and pressed a brief, firm kiss to my hair. Protective. Possessive. The room went silent. Somewhere a quill dropped. I turned toward him, mildly horrified. Ethan's expression darkened. He leaned in too, calm, measured, and placed a soft kiss against my cheek. My brain left my body. Flash. A photographer. Public affection captured. I resign, I whispered. The hall erupted. Jake stood abruptly. This is irrelevant to the negotiation. Ethan rose more slowly. On the contrary, they flanked me. Close. Very close. My ceiling felt far away. A northern elder hissed. Ethan's gaze snapped. Is my decision. Jake flicked eyes toward him. Agreement. The mediator tried to restore order. Let us proceed. But the damage was done. Photos were circulating. Headlines would explode. Jake kissing my hair. Ethan kissing my cheek. Me caught in the middle of a romance genre. I am not real, I murmured. Jake glanced down. You are. That's unfortunate. Ethan's thumb brushed my shoulder. Comforting. Why was that comforting? The doors burst open. Courier. News already spreading. Jake muttered something unheroic. I slid slightly lower. I would like to become a houseplant. Meeting adjourned. Chairs scraped. Advisors stormed out. Yet neither alpha stepped away. Jake helped me stand. Ethan's hand stayed steady at my back. Flashbulbs exploded. Reporters shouted questions. Jake's voice firm. No further statements. Ethan, the summit will reconvene. They guided me through the chaos like coordinated bodyguards. Pack stability, 41%. Public bond recognition. Successful. I sighed. Next time, could we try diplomacy without spontaneous kissing? Jake, faintly embarrassed. Ethan, faintly amused. Neither apologized. That told me everything. As the carriage doors closed, I leaned back, covering my face. Headlines would explode. Packs would panic. The system would celebrate. And I, the most photographed omega in political history. I peeked through my fingers. Jake and Ethan sat across from me, shoulders almost touching, still too close, neither moving away. Rivalry hadn't disappeared. It had evolved. Sharp, complicated, terrifyingly united. Accidental intimacy event complete. Chapter 6. When rival alphas get too in sync. If anyone asks me how I ended up in the middle of a monster attack, I would like to state for the record, I did not volunteer. And yet here I was, standing at the border between North and South packs, clutching my paperwork, which, in hindsight, was laughably useless against a rampaging creature that looked like a cross between a rhinoceros and a fire hydrant on steroids. The creature charged. Naturally. I froze. Because of course I froze. Alan! Jake barked. I blinked. He's huge. We are dramatically outclassed. I yelled. Ethan raised an eyebrow. No kidding. Are you actively panicking or narratively required to scream? I tried to be helpful. I might be both. The monster roared. Jake and Ethan stepped forward. Together. Which should not have been coordinated. They are rivals. Mortal rivals. Leaders of opposing packs. Sworn enemies of each other's scent. And yet, instinctively, they moved in perfect sync. I almost fainted from the sheer ridiculousness. Jake blocked the first swipe of the monster's claw. Ethan landed behind it, hooking its tail with elegant precision. Jake ducked. Ethan rolled. They swapped sides like some choreographed ballet, and I did nothing but clutch my folder and scream intermittently. Do I look expendable to anyone else? I asked. Jake glanced at me. You're central. Ethan added, calmly, literally. The creature lunged. Jake stepped in front of me, blocking a hit meant for, wait for it, Ethan. Ethan pivoted mid-spin and deflected another blow directed at Jake. I leaned back. Oh no. Oh no. I'm literally standing between two gods who have decided my safety is their own hobby. They kept moving together, shoulder to shoulder, guarding me, exchanging subtle glances mid-fight, breathing each other's space. I may have cried a little. Finally, after an impressively theatrical final leap, Jake slammed the beast into the ground while Ethan pinned its legs. It groaned, collapsed, and then puffed out harmless smoke. Victory. Silence. Except for my screaming. I couldn't handle it. I was shaking. My heart was beating like a drum solo. I grabbed Jake's arm impulsively. "Don't ever leave me alone." He blinked. "Alan," before I could rationalize panic or maybe gratitude, pushed me further. I pressed my lips to his hair. Quick, desperate kiss. Jake froze. Ethan blinked at me. Then, without thinking, my mind must have hit some sort of narrative override because I leaned the other way and kissed Ethan's cheek as well. Both alphas froze. Just froze. I swear the world tilted slightly. The system, lurking invisibly somewhere, quietly updated. Three-way affection route, 42% complete. I screamed internally. Why is this a route? Jake's jaw tensed. He cleared his throat. This is irregular. Ethan tilted his head, fingers brushing mine briefly. Unexpected, but noted. I clutched both of their hands. Do you have any idea how terrifying this is? Jake exhaled sharply. Yes, it is terrifying. Ethan smirked faintly. You are terrifying. I shook my head. I'm panicking, not terrifying. I am... Okay, maybe a little terrifying. They didn't respond. Both alphas just stared at me in a way that could melt steel beams, or at least make a civilian Omega feel like a guilty accomplice in some cosmic matchmaking experiment. The monster, lying unconscious, looked mildly disappointed, like it had expected better drama. I staggered back, leaning on both of them. Please tell me this ends here. Jake glanced at Ethan. It won't. Ethan's lips twitched into a grin. Not unless the system allows it. I groaned loudly. Of course it does. The system chimed softly, almost smugly. Emotional coordination detected. Pack bond strengthened. Narrative tension increased. I stared at the ceiling, the floor, and both of them simultaneously. My hands still clutched theirs. My face may have pressed briefly into Jake's chest. Possibly Ethan's too. I was unsure and too traumatized to check. I did not sign up for whatever this is, I muttered. Jake's voice was low, slightly amused. You did. Ethan's voice was smoother, quieter, impossibly calm. Not entirely. I rolled my eyes. I hate all of you. They exchanged a look. A dangerous, synchronized look. I blinked. Three-way affection route, 43% complete. Great. Just great. I said loudly. Both alphas reached for me instinctively at the same time again. I groaned. No. I'm officially a human buffer zone now. Jake's hand rested lightly on my shoulder. Ethan's arm was behind my back. I blinked again. Somewhere, faintly, I thought I could hear the system giggling. I screamed, because that is what one does when the night ends with two rival alpha leaders coordinating perfectly to guard you. And you somehow kissed both of them in a panic. I should probably start carrying tissues. Or a hammer. Or maybe just disappear entirely. The world tilted slightly again because this is my life now. Chapter 7, Domestic Chaos Between Two Packs. Alternating residences between two rival alpha packs is not in any life manual. Yet here I am, packing a single suitcase every Sunday like a stressed travel blogger. 1 week, military precision. The next, silk curtains and hovering attendants auditioning for a drama about me. Let's start with Jake's territory. I stepped into the northern compound and immediately tripped over a perfectly still soldier. Alan, morning check-in. Jake barked. I what? Blood pressure. Pulse alignment. Wait. I'm not even awake yet. Can we skip to breathing? Jake's jaw flexed. Drills in 15 minutes. Breakfast at 6:45. Exactly. Horrified. Error is not permitted in the North Pack, he said, glaring like I'd suggested marshmallows in rations. Breakfast arrived like clockwork. Eggs, meat, and nutritional alignment slurry. I poked it. Jake ate calmly, heroically, with a straight back. Then came the drills, obstacle courses, tactical exercises, exercise he thought that suitable for a pregnant Omega. This is the worst nightmare ever. Okay, now let's do with Ethan's territory. Next week, Ethan's palace. Luxurious, dramatic, curtains billowing, pillows piled high, attendants hovering. Alan, warm towel before your bath. Do I need a bath? Yes, preferably aura-aligned. Aura bath. Yes. I surrendered. Breakfast came on silver trays. Chef recommends extra serenity, an attendant said. I stared at the trays. Ethan appeared, gaze knowing. Good morning. You slept well. I think so, I replied cautiously. You're tense. Yes. I live with 2 rival alphas and alternate territories weekly. Tension is built in. He smirked. It suits you. Like a fish suit. In a desert, I muttered. And yet, as the days passed, I began to notice something. Jake and Ethan, despite their constant arguing, their absurd competition, their insistence on being alpha supreme, seemed affected when apart. Jake would frown at the northern skies as if some invisible shadow of Ethan were missing. Ethan would sit by a window, staring south, lips slightly parted, as though expecting a golden-haired man to appear out of the clouds dramatically. Both of them occasionally called me. Not to check in, mind you, but to ask how I was, subtly, in a tone that implied, "Also, are you okay without me?" I sighed, realizing the system had done more than just force a shared custody narrative. It had built dependency, emotional, ridiculous, inconvenient dependency. I lived in a constant state of absurdity. At Jake's, alarms, schedules, push-ups. At Ethan's, silk sheets, serene baths, and overly intense attentiveness. At both, love, subtle, chaotic, and entirely inconvenient. One night, at dinner, I sat alone for a minute, exhausted, and muttered, "Why did I think life could be normal?" Jake walked in, expression stern, posture heroic. "You will eat, and you will eat now." Ethan followed a moment later, robe swirling dramatically. "I insist you have proper nourishment." I stared at the two of them, standing there, simultaneously authoritative and slightly protective. My sides were warm from adrenaline, confusion, and sheer narrative chaos. I groaned. "I can't deal with both of you at once." They glanced at each other, then back at me. Then the system chimed faintly, somewhere off in the metaphysical background. Rival alphas increasing emotional synchronization. Omega response. Positive. I buried my face in my hands. This alternating domestic life was a nightmare. But I noticed something else too. A small, horrifying, inconvenient thing. They missed each other when apart. Even though they argued. Even though they tried not to care. Even though they were rivals. They missed each other. And somehow I, the most unwilling Omega in existence, had become the thread holding them together. I groaned again. My headache returned. I am, officially, a houseplant in a rivalry-themed greenhouse. The system sparkled. Domestic chaos. Maximum output. I groaned for the 4th time that morning. And somewhere, faintly, I think the alphas smiled. I hate this life. I also might kind of love it. Chapter 8, The Jealousy Festival Incident. If I were a rational, grounded person, I would have skipped the festival. I was not. I am not. Rationality left me, probably screaming into a void about being trapped between 2 rival alpha leaders. So there I was, standing in the middle of a cultural festival designed to celebrate peace, unity, and beautiful human exhibits, which was a polite way of saying the system had decided to parade me around while glitter floated mysteriously in the air. The music was festive. Lanterns swayed. People smiled too much. And I, the Omega caught in the cosmic joke of the century, was holding a sparkling drink that said, "Caution, mood altering." I wanted to sip it. I wanted to throw it. I settled for pretending it didn't exist. And then, of course, it happened. A woman, presumably pre-programmed to flirt, stepped right up to me. Hair perfect. Smile dazzling. Pheromones designed to destroy my life. "Oh, Alan. Such a delicate Omega. How do you manage so gracefully?" I nearly fell over. Excuse me, I am not receptive to. Jake's head snapped toward me. Ethan's head snapped at me, too. I was sandwiched, again, physically and emotionally, between two alphas who looked like they were ready to declare war over eye contact. Jake's hands clenched. Who is this? His tone was calm. Too calm. Dangerous calm. Ethan stepped forward, moving to my other side, lips pursed. Stay away from him. I gulped. I did not authorize any of this. She laughed lightly, unaware that she was a live grenade. I just admire beauty. That's all. Beauty. That's what they called it. Jake's nostrils flared. Ethan's fingers curled at my waist. I took a cautious step back. The system chimed softly, somewhere overhead. Jealousy detected. Narrative tension rising. Jake's gaze sharpened. Do I make myself clear? Yes, I said weakly, glancing between him and Ethan. Yes, what? Yes, Jake. You make yourself terrifyingly clear. Ethan's hand pressed lightly to mine, possessive but calm. I don't think threats are necessary. Jake's jaw tightened. Possessive displays are. I squeaked again. She stepped closer, reaching for my hand. Jake moved first. One fluid motion, one hand on my shoulder. He lowered his head, and without warning, pressed his lips to mine. Silence. Absolute silence. Lanterns swayed gently. Music paused for dramatic effect. People froze. Somewhere a goat bleated as if in mourning. I blinked. Ethan's eyes narrowed. I thought he might combust. He reached forward, slowly, deliberately, and pressed a soft, firm kiss to my hand. I yelped. Oh no! Oh no 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 no! Jake blinked. What? Ethan's gaze flickered to Jake. I will not be outdone. Oh great, you're competing again. Not subtly, openly, in front of everyone. Fantastic, I muttered. Jake ignored me entirely. He leaned in again, and kissed me, full lips, bold, very public, in front of anyone vaguely paying attention. I think my knees may have liquefied. Ethan's jaw tightened. Then, slow, deliberate, he kissed me too. I faintly considered screaming. The world tilted. The system exploded overhead. Fireworks, glitter, music. Everything calibrated to maximize three-way public embarrassment with romantic undertones. Three-way affection route, 57% complete. I tried to disentangle myself. I'm an omega, not a puppet. Jake ignored me, lips still warm, eyes dark, fierce, protective. Ethan ignored me too, lips warm, fingers still lightly holding my hand. Protective, calculated. I groaned. I cannot process this. I cannot. Jake smirked faintly. You will get used to it. Ethan added smoothly, or you will survive it. I sighed, resigned. My life had officially become a public three-way affection display. Chapter 9, Feelings Nobody Planned For. I've reached the point where nothing my two rival alphas do shocks me. Yet, the system apparently decided to keep things interesting. It was one exhausting afternoon at the neutral villa. I slammed my hands on the table. I need answers. They both looked up at the same time. Terrifying. Do you even like each other? I asked. Silence. Then, in unison. No. No what? No. Not like that. No. Absolutely not. I blinked. My omega instincts, or maybe narrative instincts, screamed. Lies. You denied it the second I asked. You're glaring at each other with the same intensity you use for threats. Suspicious, I said. Jake flexed his jaw. I do not. Ethan interrupted. I certainly do not. I groaned. All my life. You're lying. Jake exhaled. Fine. Maybe. Perhaps there's something. But it's irrelevant. Ethan tilted his head. Completely irrelevant. I buried my face in my hands. Irrelevant my foot. You're obsessed with each other. Just under the guise of leadership rivalry. Leadership, Jake muttered. Rivalry, Ethan countered. I glared. Two storm clouds pretending not to be attracted while raining on my emotional parade. The arguing escalated, not polite alpha-level arguing about fear, responsibility, and, accidentally, feelings. "I cannot afford distractions," Jake said, pacing. "And I cannot," Ethan countered, arms crossed. "I am not a distraction," I shouted. Then something shifted. Slowly, the bickering softened into a conversation. About fear, leadership, and me. Jake's voice softened. I was afraid. Afraid of losing control. Afraid of letting my pack down. Afraid of him. Ethan's gaze fell. I was afraid too. Of failure. Of showing weakness. Of losing him. Somehow, I can't ignore it. I froze. Did I hear that correctly? They were admitting it. Both of them. About me. I swallowed. My heart thudded. I don't know what to do with you two," I muttered. Jake looked at Ethan. Ethan looked at Jake. Then both looked at me. I leaned forward. Kisses first to Jake, then Ethan. Gentle. Intentional. Not panicked. Not system-forced. The world tilted slightly. Both alphas froze. Eyes wide. Breaths caught. "Alan," Jake started. Ethan exhaled. "This is..." "Yes," I whispered. I sank between them, holding their hands. The tension softened. Still intense. Still complicated. But now tender. Jake's jaw relaxed. "I don't want to hide this anymore." Ethan nodded. "Nor do I." I pressed a hand to each of their cheeks. "Then we stop pretending." "Agreed." "Agreed," Jake said firmly. "Agreed," Ethan confirmed. Three-way affection route, 68% complete. I sank into the couch between them, finally feeling relief. For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel like a hostage or a system experiment. I felt loved. Jake leaned his forehead against mine. Ethan's hand brushed my hair. "Yes," I whispered. "Ridiculous, terrifying, and wonderful." The system chimed faintly like it approved. I groaned softly. Life continues. Chapter 10, Unity Through Love. I never thought the day would come when I could say this. Everything was quiet, peaceful, happy. And yet, here we were, me, Jake, and Ethan, sitting together in the neutral villa's great hall. The tension between our packs, replaced by a strange, warm glow, started small. Fingers brushing, hands intertwined, gentle reassurances. Then we leaned in. First Jake, then Ethan, then all three of us kissing softly, deliberately, intentionally. No panic, no system forcing it. Just love. Real, messy, complicated love. I felt their arms wrap around me. Jake pressed a kiss to my temple. Ethan's lips brushed my cheek. I exhaled, letting myself sink between them. This time there were no walls, no rules, no rivalry, just us. And then, something even more incredible. Jake and Ethan turned slightly toward each other, slowly, tentatively, and kissed. I froze for a second, then smiled, because the tension I had known for weeks, the unspoken longing, the subtle competition, it all melted into this. Two alpha rivals finally admitting their feelings. And it was beautiful, tender, fierce. The room seemed to exhale with us. The system hummed, sparkled, celebrated. Pack peace achieved. Public and emotional unity, maximum. Love metrics, optimal. I laughed softly, leaning back between them. "So, we're really doing this?" Jake pressed his forehead against mine. "Yes, no more pretending." Ethan's hand brushed my hair, then Jake's. No more hiding, no more rivalry, only family. And in that moment it wasn't just the three of us. Both packs, north and south, stood together in spirit, the invisible walls between them dissolving. Shared meals, shared decisions, shared love. I kissed each of them again, soft, warm, full of everything I had been holding in for weeks. Jake and Ethan leaned into each other, holding hands across my lap, sharing another kiss. This one longer, affirming, full of mutual desire and trust. My heart swelled so big I thought it might burst. I whispered, "We're one pack now. One family." Jake smiled faintly. "One family. Together." Ethan's gaze softened. Finally, fully, the system chimed, sparkling brightly overhead. Narrative success, pack unity achieved through love. Emotional stability, maximum. Public and private bonding, complete. I exhaled, finally allowing myself to relax. My hands were held. My heart was full. My life was ridiculous and perfect. Jake kissed my temple again. Ethan kissed the tip of my nose. Then, with a glance that made me melt, Jake and Ethan pressed their lips together again. A quiet, mutual promise of love and loyalty. I leaned back, laughing softly through happy tears. Life is ridiculous, but I love it. And the three of us, Alpha, and Omega, sat there together, surrounded by invisible peace, unified hearts, and the knowledge that, finally, our packs were one. The system sparkled, truly content. Maximum love achieved. Maximum pack unity. Maximum happiness. Chapter 11: Labor, Love, and Lots of Cursing. I do not even know where to start except maybe fuck. Fuck, because here I was, laboring, exhausted, pregnant beyond reason, in a hospital room or something suspiciously like one, designed for dramatic effect by the system, and both of my rival alphas were there, watching, hovering, intensely supportive, and somehow that made me want to punch all of them. Breathe, Jake said calmly, heroic posture like he was about to lead a charge. Breathe? Breath? How the fuck do you expect me to breathe when this baby is trying to escape my body? Ethan, sitting close on the other side, reached for my hand. I've got you, Alan. I do not want your goddamn hand, Ethan. I want this baby out and the system dead. Jake gripped my other hand. Focus. Deep breaths. You can do this. Focus? I'm focusing on cursing both of you and that fucking system that put me here. They exchanged glances. Stoic. Slightly amused. I groaned. Pushed. Cursed. The contractions were vicious. My back ached. My brain was leaking. And still, both alphas never left my side. Alan, you're doing amazing. Ethan whispered, voice low, grounding. Amazing? I'm literally fucking dying, and you two are sitting there looking like heroes in a shitty fantasy novel. Jake leaned down, pressing his forehead to mine. You are incredible. Our baby is incredible. You're incredible. I glared at him. I hate you, both of you, and the system. And then, finally, one tiny wail cut through the chaos. Wow, my baby. He's out, isn't he? They both laughed softly. Soft, tender, full of love laughs. I didn't even have the energy to glare. The second baby followed shortly after. What a second, I didn't plan for this. But still got twin boys. Two little perfectly screaming, beautiful, tiny babies. I collapsed back, completely spent. My arms wrapped around them automatically. Hugged them so tightly I swear I might crush their tiny bones. I didn't care. I didn't even notice my own exhaustion anymore. Jake gently rested a hand on my shoulder, murmuring, You did it. You're incredible. Ethan leaned in, brushing a kiss across my temple. And we're right here. Always. I glared at both of them again. I hate you. All three of you. And that fucking system. But I love you too. God help me. I love you too. Both alphas leaned closer. Jake cupped one tiny head. Ethan the other. Their faces soft, tender, awed by our sons. I groaned again, exhaustion and relief combining into a perfect storm. I am never doing anything like this again. Ever. Except maybe feed them, if I survive. The twins wriggled in my arms. Tiny fists punching my chest, little legs kicking. I hugged them even tighter, laughing and crying simultaneously. My little demons. I love you both. So much, I muttered fondly. Jake leaned down, kissing my temple again. Ethan brushed my hair back, whispering softly, Family. I looked at them, both alphas, both fully present, both completely ours. Pack unity, complete. Omega and twins, secure. Alpha love, maximum. Family, absolute. And the system, fuck you too. You little sparkly bastard. I muttered. I exhaled. Collapsed fully. Twins in my arms. Both alphas surrounding us like protective, loving shields. Exhausted. Covered in sweat. Covered in love. Covered in relief. Life was ridiculous. Exhausting. Painful. Perfect. And somehow, impossibly, it was ours.